Hello, sweethearts. Welcome to the Radiance Center. And this is a set of discussions called Conversations with Friends. And we choose a different topic each time that we think might help the world understand a different way of living. The motto of the Radiance Center is, "We are living proof that there is a different way to live." So that's what we're practicing here. And so you guys can interrupt each other. You can let me kiss you. You can cry. You can do anything you want. And today's topic is on depression. And I'll just say that some of the people that I admire the very most are people who go through depression and actually deal with it consciously. So we're just going to start, and you can talk to each other, you can interrupt each other, you can say, "Oh, I didn't know that, explain that more." You can do anything you want. But I want to just start out with the basic question of, when did you first realize that you were depressed? And we kind of make a distinction, very informal distinction, between clinical depression, and you guys can correct me. Clinical depression being that you might be bipolar, manic, and then depressed, and that clinical depression doesn't depend on anything external for the reason for you to be sad or can't function or whatever. Whereas there's the kind of depression that comes from going through grief or loss or whatever's going on in your life.
Situational depression.
Situational, thank you. And then also very often depression also includes some kind of mental illness. So you guys are all welcome to talk about any of that. And we'll start now, and don't go on and on forever, because there's so many of you who have such important things to say. But let's just begin with, when did you first realize that you were depressed?
I began to experience...
This is Molly.
Okay. I began to experience depression when I was 12 and 13. My father had bipolar disorder, and we were living with him, and when I realized I was beginning to experience some of the same things, I said to myself, and this is 13, I'm damned if I'm going to do to other people what Dad has done to us. So I really learned to mask, and wasn't diagnosed till I was 35 when I went manic, and I've struggled to deal with it my whole life, basically.
Yeah. With amazing courage and clarity. Thank you. Okay, who else?
I don't remember.
This is Dominique.
Hi. So I don't remember pretty much any of my childhood home. Like, the memories just aren't there. But I had a diary, and I remember reading it, and there's just so many moments where it's like, I can't speak my truth, and I'm afraid I'm gonna get hit or hurt, and I wish this would end. And it was just like a constant threat of violence and rejection. And so, yeah, I think it's just kind of always been there. And I actually found out later in life that there was like a physical fight in the hospital room of my birth, because I'm mixed, so I was not supposed to exist according to some of my white family members. And so, yeah, it just kind of feels like there's always been a level of unsafety, which has led to what I've considered just depression I can't really control. Don't really.
And is there chemical depression running through other members of your family?
Definitely.
Or was it more the violence?
I think it was both. I think the chemical imbalance, like, obviously can't control that, but violence was modeled. And yeah, there's just a history of racism and other things that really ate at my family. So.
Thank you, sweetheart. You're so brave. Okay, who else?
My name's Zach. I pretty much experienced all sorts of moods, depression, anxiety, anger, my whole life. I guess it started when I was first born, when my dad pretty much saw me be born and gave me back and left me. And didn't
And
want
your
me.
mom was?
And my mom was bipolar. She had
16 years old.
anxiety, depression, and she was also 16 years old. So, as she says very proudly today, we grew up together. So, I didn't really have a role model other than a 16-year-old teenager that was emotionally unstable and didn't know how to self-regulate herself. So, I was kind of just lost and didn't really know what depression was. I just thought this was just my life and this is how it's going to be, and I don't know why I'm here and I don't want to be here, and other times I'm so overwhelmed with being here I just want to either kill myself or I've went through a lot of stages of deep depression and anger in my life, and I'm 30 now and just figuring out now how to go back and reparent that part of myself that never got the love and the self-worth that he deserves.
Wow. Can I add one part to your story?
Oh, I love that.
As long as I've known Zach, and probably long before, he was always worried about being overweight, that he wouldn't be loved if he were overweight. And he just found out from his mother the other day that his father came when you were how old?
He came back 3 times after getting me back at birth, and the last time he took me for an entire day, and then when he got back, he didn't feed me all day, and then he told my mom to stop feeding me so much because I'm getting fat. So, and my mom punched him in the face and told him never to come back again. And that was the last time that we saw him.
And so I think it's amazing that somehow Zach remembered that fear, even though he wasn't conscious that that was being fed into him, so to speak. I'm so impressed with you.
Thanks, Spirit. I love you.
I love you too. Who else?
Hello, my name is Christopher. I feel that depression was my conscious awareness about 12 or 13 when my mother finally told me the truth about my father, and I could notice the huge connection between my mother and my stepdad and my sister, and the disconnect from me and the 3 of them. And prior to that, I feel like it was instilled into me just via my mother's human life experience. My father got his head cut off 9 days before I was born, 20 days before he turned 20. So at 18, my mom experienced so much, and I was born 9 days later. So if you're aware of anything that has to do with, the baby's, anybody in the womb feeling things, I felt my mom get her high school sweetheart head cut off. Got blown up by a bomb, and he was in the service, and, had gone through ROTC, and they were in Germany, so they were so far away from any support. My mom was in Germany and grew up in California. So I feel like there was some initiation there, and then my conscious and being aware of my surroundings coming into my teens, you know, my mom lying to me the whole time that it was, you know, this is your dad, you love him, and he's tall, blonde hair.
Your stepfather, you thought he was your dad?
That's what she told me. That was the lie that he couldn't uphold anymore. And so yeah, my mom left me with my stepdad twice. You know, when I turned 12 or 13, 13 or so, and then 2 weeks before I turned 18, he's like, "You got somewhere to go?" And I'm like, "You got fucking kidding me?" I'm like, "Really?" My mom took my sister and moved into a place, and she went to she was the first graduating class of a brand new high school in Green Valley, Las Vegas, which is a nice neighborhood. And I went to, my high school was called Basic, literally, Basic Wolves. Yeah, I feel like I've gotten the short end of the fucking stick when it comes to a lot of things.
And we're going to hear who you are now, which takes like amazing. But for now, Sahaja, do you want to say anything?
I think I look at depression at this point as a state that I grew up with and didn't have words for. And then I watched my mother going down and eventually kill herself. She was diagnosed with bipolar, etc., etc. And I feel like I did my journey of healing and learning and understanding. And it seems like depression doesn't have a hold on me anymore.
Wow.
But recently I've gone through a whole scene of anxiety and even panic. So I've learned to just hold myself, I think, going through that process. And if it wasn't for you, I would have never managed to do that. But so there's like, phases now in my life where I feel like, you know, there was a decade where I learned this. And now I step on, and now I learn that.
Yes.
But depression doesn't get me anymore the way it used to.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Good
So,
for you. Thank you. And I think we don't have to go into a long discussion about it, but a lot of the people I've worked with who deal with that kind of depression were the, first or second generation after the war. And you got given that terror and guilt.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's part of it.
And Christopher, I grew up in Germany. So I just wanted to say that.
I was almost born there.
Yeah.
Thank you. So then my next question for all of you is, how does depression affect you now? And then the third question will be, what helps? What makes a difference? What changes your life? So I'm open for anybody to speak. I'm so impressed with all of you.
Well, for me, it's definitely chemical cycling, and what's most frustrating is I never know. I mean, I'll go for a period of time doing just fine, being able to handle my life, and then all of a sudden, without rhyme or reason, I can't function.
Yeah.
And that's what's most frustrating for me. And what I deal with, I mean, no matter how hard I try, I can't get away from it. So I just try to deal the best I can. I sort of have developed 3 different modes. And one is just sheer endurance. Okay, I'm just going to wait this out. The other one is masking, so I can function. And then the other one is what I call whistling in the dark, where I'm just pretending everything's okay, and sometimes it becomes okay.
I use that.
A lot of you use that. Who else?
question was, how do we deal
How
with
it affects you now.
how does depression affect us
Mhm.
now?
Yeah. How are you? Later we'll find so-called solutions, but for now I just want to know how it affects you now.
How it affects me now, currently. I feel like over the years, especially over this past month actually, I've really understood that it's not the event that's happening currently, and I'm able to step out and be the observer of the event and have the awareness to know that it's just an event that is happening for me, not to me, so that I can go back and reparent that little boy that never got that love or never got that attention or
Yeah.
anything that he needed, and it has nothing to do with that person currently or me currently. It just has to do with the gift that was bestowed on me.
And he does mean that, right?
100%.
Yeah. That he is learning, I guess you'd say, that it's something your soul chose and is willing to look at, like a soul question.
Yeah, I feel like we all chose our parents. We all chose our lifestyle. We all chose our parents, our family members, so that we could experience what we experienced, whether it was lack or love, so that we could learn from that lesson so deeply, so that we can teach it to others, because that's what life is all about, is learning and growing and then passing it on to the next generation and leaving the world better than you found it.
Wow.
So I feel like we all got gifted with these traumas or patterns, or diagnosed with depression or anger or anything really, just so that we can learn how to overcome that, so that we can help our brothers and sisters.
And can I say that when you don't find the power in yourself at first, that you become addicted or whatever to the love of other people or the approval of the other people. And what you're doing now is so incredible, because you are truly, madly, deeply in love with this woman, and at the same time deciding that first you need to learn to hear your own voice. And that's amazing that you're doing that.
Yeah. If I was to say one thing, it would be that anything that you're doing daily to calm yourself that is outside of breath itself, any substance you're using, anything that you're doing out of habit is an addiction, and it's to escape. And something that I have just figured out recently is that I've spent my entire life escaping and avoiding what was deeply trying to come out, and trying to be healed through hape, tobacco, weed, sex, relationships, everything, and
even teaching.
Yeah, exactly. Everything, anything that you do daily. Yeah, and it took a woman that I love more than anything in this world, including myself, to teach me that, to really help me look at, like, holy shit, like, I gotta do something, because this pattern is repeating, and if I want,
it's destroying.
yeah, and it's destroying. It's not helping me. It's not helping anyone. So I dropped every substance and I even separated consciously from her and went into a place of my own, and have been spending 4 hours a night just sitting with it and processing it, and really going deep within, trying to find the core wounds and hold them as they've been wanting to be held for decades now.
Wow, I'm in awe. Who else can tell me how it's affecting you now? Sahaja's saying, I think that it doesn't have such a hold on her now.
Not anymore. I just feel like I can hold my whole experience. I mean, I want to say I was at least severely depressed till I was 35. And I
Okay.
only started to have, my mom killed herself when I was, I think, 31.
Wow.
And there was an incredible amount of learning for me in all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I was 35, even 40, I came to the islands at 40.
Mm-hmm.
I had a sense of depression is not going to get me under anymore. And it's true.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I'm not saying I haven't had some depressed moments or a
Of course.
depressed day,
Yeah.
but nothing like in my earlier life.
Okay. Good to know.
And so it's possible. But it's not something we can necessarily expect. I think for everybody, I mean, when I listen to you,
Mm-hmm.
it's something that continues to happen for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm now watching my, panic, which before never managed to get me under.
Mm-hmm.
But so I'm working on that at this point. Living in this world can trigger all kinds of things.
Yeah.
But I feel like I have the background of having worked through depression and quote unquote coming out the other end, so I have much more trust, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and especially having this lady around us no matter what. It's like, I think it supports all of us to see it's possible.
Yeah.
But we don't know exactly what it's going to look like for each person.
Thank you. That's exactly right.
So,
Thank you. Who else? How does it affect you now?
It still feels really unmanageable and intense. But what I'm practicing now is forgiveness. So forgiveness for my family, forgiveness for myself. I see there was a lot of religion in my family and patriotism and just these things that were kind of shoved on my family. And they were doing the best that they could, and I've done the best that I have been able to. And so when the depression comes and I just, almost can't function, I just choose to look at it as a sign of good health.
Nice.
Because there's so many things about the world and the way that we're conditioned and taught to treat each other that is just like flat out wrong. And so
Lies.
It just lies, and so now I'll when I catch myself just like so lost in it, I'll just be like, wow, like good job that you're so healthy and you think the world sucks, and just, I'm proud of you. So I do like a lot of just like comforting myself and sleeping more if I need to, and I have to remind myself to like eat and drink because I'll forget to do basic things. So and I've been in a Hawaiian course for the past 3 months and just learning to focus more on what nourishes me instead of what harms, and that has been so helpful.
Wow. And she's writing a book
Yes.
about her childhood and her family.
I recently switched to a pen name because I realized I was still tiptoeing around so many things.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, and so I'm
I'm
gonna,
really glad you did that.
it's second draft now, and I'm just gonna release it all without worrying about it getting back on my family or. Yeah.
Thank you. I know it's starting to get dark, but let's hear from these beautiful men. Anything you want to tell us about what it's like for you now? Okay.
Did you went already or no?
Yeah.
Zach?
I went already, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you're just so much love that she couldn't possibly think you were just one man. Several men in one beautiful body.
That must be.
Well, how do you go into depression after that? So depression, I feel affects me on a daily basis. Waking up every morning alone with no communication, being on the islands 10 years and no one's come to see me. You know, I'm still trying to feel as confident as I can be. And I smoke tobacco. I will go as soon as we're done here. I did it before I got in here. So addiction. I've done really well with some addictions, and I know that I could conquer tobacco and ganja, but I feel like at this point I'm doing good. I feel like depression directly affects my glass ceiling. I feel like it's closer than it is, so I have no room to do, and even if I did go and, you know, try my efforts to try and do things, all I see is me being successful, and then all of my family that has not come around for 20, 30 years coming around so that I can tell them no, I don't want to give them money and stuff, because I feel like I would have been really successful having given more just basic family support. You know, I was shunned. You know, I look really good, but all my family is short, fat, and ugly. And I don't look like them. And so they, you know, push me aside. And I don't have a desire. You know, my mom obviously doesn't want to have a relationship with me or friendship or, you know, even just basic communication. She tries to send me things here and there, tries to act like, you know, oh my gosh, is everything okay, when the fires had gone off. And I expressed to her how my life is just fabulous, and she's like, okay, good.
Wow. Okay.
And so there's this just obvious, you know, that there isn't reciprocation, there isn't a desire. So, and I don't really rest in this as much, but the golden ticket or the positive side to it is I don't have any ritualistic structure from, you know, what my race or whatever they do. I don't have any family structure that has stuck me into something to grow up and be an adult. And then all of my family have kids, have been in the service, and, you know, they have 3 or 4 baby daddies and, you know, 3 or 4 other kids, and I have fucking none. I've conquered like so much. I've shifted so much in my family. I'm just like, fuck that shit. I'm not involved in that. I came to Hawaii and living on a beach at 37. I was like, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. I have no support to do this. I'm going to be a bum on the fucking beach. And here I am 10 years later. I'm about to go off island and chase my dreams.
So you can lead into that final question is, what helps, what changes, what allows you to become more of your true self? And what do you do with the bitterness?
Embracing, well, I tend and hang out with that motherfucker every day.
Yeah.
It's not like it doesn't go anywhere. It's still there. Every time I go to leave from being in a social setting, it's, you know, I left by myself and I leave with a companion. You know, my cousin isn't visiting I'm always going back by myself. So I sit and hang out with that bitterness all the time.
Okay. You are so brave. Yeah. So tell them about the magic that you're about to pursue. And the fact that you gave up all the drugs that you thought were difficult for you, 5 years ago?
So I have almost 5 years with no alcohol and about 4.5 with no kratom and coffee. I just turned 47, and at 30 I could start counting being clean off of meth. I had a 2 or 3 year dance with that. You know, the more that I just let go of the narrative and just see what's in front of me, and great, I mean, I'm so blessed, and I feel really empowered with this physique, with this temple. It's gotten me through a lot.
Okay, I get that.
I don't feel like I should look like this. I feel like I should look ugly and fat, and I don't watch my diet and whatever. So, but anyways, as I let go of the narrative and stuff, the gloriousness of the universe, the people that I'm surrounded by, the Hawaiian Islands, it just, you know, it shifts my attention to fun, distraction with, you know, I've been working on myself a lot more, so I've been learning to be alone and understanding that, you know, it's so much more empowering to be alone. Yeah.
And tell me why, and I'm not fishing here, but tell me why you come to Sunday nights when you're learning to be alone. It seems like you're being more and more able to allow people to see you and honor you. Does that feel true?
Yeah. The minimal yet very profound structure of being here 4 times a month. I've been on the beach in a van or whatever for the past, you know, 7 years before I was in Spar's place. And so it helps me calm down my nervous system. I've been able to pace myself and stop and adapt to paces that are my speed. You know, as a projector, I've learned that I'm a projector, and I'm open, so I take on a lot of energy while it's being fed, you know, and then I get bitter. And so I'm learning to feed myself or just not pour my cup out. And by being here helps me be around the like-minded individuals that are working on themselves and are in that nervous, vulnerable place as well. I don't feel as judged. I don't feel as persecuted for not doing stuff. And I'm here to not do so much shit. I'm here to break that mold of always having to do stuff, you know. And I've been able to be here to do that stuff and shower and empty my butt.
Yeah. And he decided that part of his wildest dream was to DJ music that changes people's lives. Can we say it that way?
Yeah.
And he has just been invited to Alaska to DJ 3 different events. And that's his new image of himself.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm gonna go over and turn on these lights and see if it makes
I'm gonna do
any
that.
difference.
I'm sure he knows where the switch
Do
is.
you know where the switch is? Right over there? I don't know if he does. Try that. Oh, that's better. Thank you. That's something. Okay. Who else? Who else wants to tell us how you take care of yourself? How you become, if at all possible, proud of yourself, giving up the shame and the guilt that the culture gives us. So, tell me about you.
Well, for me, the main treasure in my life are friends who are very supportive. I've had to teach them.
Yes, exactly.
You know, when they ask, well, how are you doing? Do you really want to know? You know, but having people that I can just call up and say, hey, I'm not doing well, and they know exactly what I'm talking about. but you have to train people to really, for them to understand really what that means.
Yeah.
And for me also, writing poetry about my depression has been very meaningful.
I keep wanting you to give that to the world. That's
Need to
so
find a way.
powerful. Yeah.
Because I had a discussion with someone at one point when I was first officially diagnosed. It's like you can't describe depression in prose because it's so very subjective.
Oh, wow.
And it has to be described in poetry, and that's been And the other thing that's been very important is to not be resigned, but to be accepting.
Yes. Huge difference.
Huge difference. And it's real easy to fall into resignation. Oh, poor me. Why do I have to deal with this again?
Yeah.
But to accept that, yes, this is what I have to struggle with, but I can craft and create a good life for myself anyway.
And now she has come so far with accepting herself that she's starting to work for a hospice. Help people die. I'm so in awe of that. Yeah. Okay, who else?
The poetry sparked in me my answer. What I realized, because I got sober 5 years ago, and I did like recovery stuff and AA, and after a couple years of that, when my parents passed away, I just had this like awakening of like, wait, I didn't get sober to just keep following a bunch of weird rules. Like I'm really not happy. And then I just had like the series of events like showed me like it's about my dreams. It's about the things I was told I would never be good at because I was stupid or worthless, or just the projections of my family's pain. I would like try to learn an instrument or start to draw, and then I would just give up because I was just such a harsh critic to myself.
Yeah.
And so now, like, even when I have to work shitty jobs or do the things I don't want to do, art is like super important to me. And being here in Hawaii has changed my life. Like I picked up a ukulele and like I wrote 2 songs the past 6 months, and I'm drawing and writing and hosting poetry nights. I just feel like that's what I've always desired, is like a judgment-free space to create, and I love to like host it for other people so they can experience the same.
And you're speaking more and more truth in your life.
Yes, speaking a lot of truth.
What did you say that you're in the what phase? Was it the axe or the sword or?
Oh, like just kind of like the sword of truth.
Yeah.
Type. Yeah. Yep. I got involved with an organization where it was kind of like every bad aspect of my childhood came back up to be faced, but in the workforce. And yeah, I'm even taking legal action for the first time and just speaking the truth. And I took care of myself through the experience. I saved emails. I just responded much differently as an adult and a child, because I realized I can take care of myself.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And last thing I want to say is I was raised really Catholic, and I was taught to not touch my body, to not pleasure myself, to just like your body's like temptress or other people, and just all this stuff. So coming to Hawaii had a really strong intention to like break through that, and I met certain people that like super helped me to make peace with my body and my sexuality and my desires. And so I know it's not one answer for all, but I do think if we've been conditioned to not even accept our own bodies, like that's something to look at and learn to love your body.
Yeah.
Love you.
Who else?
So the question is, how do we?
What's helping?
What's helping?
Yeah, what's helping you change?
one thing that can get any man out of depression is learning how to circulate and cultivate his seed. Because your seed is your life force energy. And when you're draining that daily, even weekly, it's kind of hard to have an abundance of life force energy, seeing as you're draining it, and what we're using to drain that with lack of intention and integrity. It's a whole nother story. But yeah, that's what I do. Is I'm a vitality coach for men, so I teach how to circulate and how to cultivate your sexual energy and how to move it throughout your body. I do a lot of qigong practices and different breathing practices, so breath, circulating energy. But I would say most importantly, it would be being of service. When you're of service, out of obligation, just from your pure heart, because you're not doing anything else with your time, might as well just give back to the Aina, give back to your community, give back to your family, your ohana. And I've been a part of an organization called Hungry Heroes Hawaii for like over almost 4 years now, and feeding people has been the number one thing that always takes me out of my mind and takes me right into my heart. So being of service to the Aina is number one for me.
And if you would please tell the story of the flute.
The flute.
Yeah.
I was in Sedona, Arizona, and
Depressed. I
wouldn't say I was depressed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I was having a good time.
Okay.
Yeah, I was having a very good time. Yeah. And I was in the birthing cave in Sedona, and this guy was playing a flute, and I asked him where he got it. He said, Bonanza, go there today. And I was like, all right, go there today. So I went there, and there was an older woman, about 75 years old, that was running out of the store, and she's like, we closed. I was like, okay, well, I'm buying a flute today. And she's like, oh, okay. So she came back in, and she's like, you want flute? I was like, yeah. She goes, have you played flute before? I was like, nope, never have, but I feel really called to play the flute. And she goes, okay, I teach you flute. And she literally spent an hour with me downloading all this wisdom from Carlos Nakaya, a really famous Native American flute player. And he actually carved the flute that was given to me by her, and it was her last sale. So
she quit that day.
She quit that day. Yeah, she
It's
retired
her
that
last
day.
thing she did.
Wow.
So yeah, all the breath is number one for me. Breath is number one, and the flute is breath. So it's really, I really enjoy the flute,
And you should hear him. I mean, it's like he's been playing forever.
Yeah.
I do like breathing.
Yeah.
Remember this, if anything, breath is life. So if you're not breathing, you're not living.
Yeah. And Sahaja, do you want to say what helps you become yourself?
You.
Thank you. That's all you need to say then.
Okay, good.
Okay, we're so close to running out of light, but does anybody want to say anything else except I want to say how grateful I am. I don't know where you guys get the courage to do this, but I'm so impressed.
Just really just a lot of gratitude for the Radiance Center and for you, Spirit, for everything that you show up with. And I know that you're just getting out of the way and allowing the love to flow through you, but it takes a lot of courage and a lot of heart to show up the way you do every day for your community.
It does take courage.
Yeah, it really does.
Yes, it really does. So thank you for knowing that. Yeah. If I were just going to be divine, lift up out of my body, it would be easier. But my instructions are to be 100% human and 100% divine. And that's tricky.
Oh, sure is.
Called walking a tightrope.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else that wants to be said?
Yeah, now that I've made it through some deeper emotions and things, exposing myself, the thing that helps me with depression is that I have thrown enough hissy fits and watched the universe still coddle me.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And as I want to smoke another cigarette and, you know, be depressed about what didn't happen to me,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when a baby throws a tantrum and then it falls asleep and then wakes up and realizes that it wasn't that bad, and whatever it is that what it was wanting, it gets it. I've been nourished. I thought that by not having money and not being able to buy things, I was stealing food, and so I stopped stealing food, and for 4 or 5 years now, I've had gone, and when I go without food, I realize that it's helping my body, cleanse and not work so hard on processing another meal. I've also, for 10 years, haven't filled out a job application. I've not filled out one job application. And I've focused my energy towards being a steward other than money. And so the Radiance Center, is such an amazing place for me to practice that, to be supported and be able to support in digging the trench, painting the thing, whatever it is that we do around here.
Working on the septic system all that time.
Cleaning the windows.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And surrounding myself with, that feels like something I've done, but I feel like the universe has really taken me out of whatever I was in and put in this new place.
Mm.
And it's all here. It's all dance and mana foods and
Yeah.
the beaches and sitting next to you.
Yeah. Wow. All of you could not have possibly done better. I'm so grateful, and I think you've changed the world tonight by doing this. So thank you.
Change the world every day just by being.
Yep, exactly. Who wants to turn off?
I don't know, I'm more of a turn on.
We got
But for once, I guess I'll turn off.
Okay.